Alright, today we're going to be making some microphone cables. So we've got our two ends here. We've got our male end and our female end, just like so. These, of course, are not the completed product. This is just the actual inside of the casing. And of course you've got the cable relief, and then you've got the actual little clamps that prevent you from yanking the wires right out of the solder points here. And I'm going to kind of go over how to solder these ends on. So I've got an old end here, and as you can see, they are identical. This came off of an older wire, no longer in use. As you can see, you've got your 3 pins. You've got a shielding. That's going to be your pin 1, which is on this side here. You've got your positive, which is going to be your pin 2, and you've got your negative, which is your pin 3. First thing you want to do is we've got our wire here. Now, first thing you want to do is you want to get your cable relief, and you want to stick it on the wire like so. So that way you don't forget to add it on later, and you don't mess up your wire trying to put it on. So we're going to push that on as far as we can, just get it out of the way. Doesn't need to be in the way. And then you want to be careful, because this is a knife, it's sharp, but you don't need to take off too much, because you're going to have the wire in like that, and then you have the cable, the stress relief right here, and you just want enough to where it's grabbing that stress relief and you're able to solder it on. Now, of course, if I were to just cut this much off, it's going to be really hard to work with, so I usually give myself a little bit extra room, and you just want to be careful. Don't touch the blade, just run the wire around it. Try to keep your fingers as far away as possible. Don't have to cut all the way through. Just cut through enough to where you have a little nice, neat little line all the way across, and then just, well, usually it comes off easier than that. There we go. You might want to go a little bit deeper than that, but just try not to cut through the shielding wire here. The difference between a DMX and a microphone cable is this shield. A DMX cable will have a lot more shielding on it because it is a digital signal. Any bit of interference is going to cause nightmares. So that's why you see this is not a lot of shielding. It's good for analog audio signals. It's not going to cause a lot of problems, but if you're trying to run a digital signal through it, it ain't gonna be pretty. But you just want to kind of get your shielding wire, nice and neatly rounded up like so. Sometimes what I like to do with the shielding wire, and don't do this with the other wires, but just with the shielding wire, is get your soldering iron here and just kind of this will prevent any of the stragglers from getting around and shorting out to the other two here. And then you want to get rid of all this, just the string, kind of get rid of that, and that just kind of stiffens the wire and, prevents these, because this is, that's 24, usually 24 gauge wire. It's not gonna hold up well on its own, so you got to have that string there just to make sure that it has some durability to it. So now you do want to trim this kind of down to size a little bit here. And I know these aren't really the proper tool for the job, but they get the job done. These ones only go to 20 gauge. They don't go down to 24 gauge like these wires are here. These might even be smaller than that. That is a tiny wire. I'd probably say 24 gauge is probably pretty good. Alright. So now we're gonna got this little clampy thing here that I like to use. Just makes life easy. So we just want to find pin number 1, which they are marked. If you look on here, this one is marked pin 1, pin 2, pin 3. Probably way too small for the camera to pick up, but pin 1 is this pin on this side here. So we're going to start with that. So just clip the pins in like so, and that'll just kind of hold them nice and tight to where they're not kind of going all over the place on you. And then you go in like so. And then we're going to put the shielding into pin number 1, just like so. Next thing, get your soldering iron out again. Doesn't hurt to make sure it's nice and clean. And the nice thing is you've already got a little bit of solder on the wire there, so it's gonna bond really nicely. There we go. That is one solder connection made right there. And you can see with the solder going all the way up, no stragglers, nothing to possibly short out with the other wires. And that's going to give it a little bit of added durability as well to keep it from pulling out. Next wire we're going to do here, while we've got it in this position, is we are going to do the negative in pin number 3. So nice and lined up, wire's already inside the middle there. And there we go. That's 2 solder points right there. That might be a little bit much, but it ain't gonna kill it. You just don't want to touch the pins because they are extremely hot. Don't touch the part you just soldered. I'm just touching the plastic here, trying to get this last little wire in here. And there we have that. And we're going to do the same thing with the positive in pin number 2. There we have it. You've got one nice, complete connection there. So we're going to let that cool because that's extremely hot. And while we're letting that one cool, we're going to go ahead and do the other side. One thing I'd like to point out right here, always cut away from you. If you're going to use a knife, use it smart. Don't cut towards you. Don't cut towards your fingers. Be smart. Always cut away from your body. And chances are, you're probably not going to cut yourself. Alright, so this is why you always want to put the stress relief on first. Because if you wait too long, like here, you'll be okay because you could still get those wires through and push the stress relief on just fine. Just like that. But if you already soldered it, you're not getting that stress relief on. No way, no chance. But there we go. Another end ready to go on. Now this side's a little bit different. You don't really have pins to grab onto with your little hooky thingy here. All you got is that little ground pin for the actual connector, and you know that's kind of inconvenient. But what you can do is just take it and clamp it on there like so. Now you're dealing with this upside down, so instead of like the other one you had 1, 2, 3, now you have 1, 2, 3. So you don't want to put it on this way. You want to put it on this way, if that makes sense. And there we have it. Two nice ends. And those are not going anywhere anytime soon. So now we go back to this one here, and we're going to put the stress relief on. And the way that goes on is you got your center pin there, and there's a little notch lined up there, and then there's a little notch on that there, and they just go together. And you can see that as long as we got some grabbage of the wire on the stress relief, you should be in good shape. So now you take your positive one, or your male end, which the male end is going to be the one without the clip. The clip is on the female. And then you just have your notch up there at the top of the connector. You just line it up, and it should just slide in nice and easy until it's nice and flush like so. And then you take the end there, and it just threads right on like so. Get it nice and tight. Shouldn't be really much of a gap in there between there. And there we go. You got the one end done there. And we're going to do the same thing with this end here. You got the notch right at the top, pin 3 right there. Take the stress relief, slide it over the wire, line up the notch, and then here the clip is going to line up with the ground there, and it just slides right. Come on. This one's sometimes a little bit more finicky, but same thing. Just slides right in so it's nice and flush. Put the cable end, thread it all the way on until there's no more gap. There you have it. One cable completely done.